Just want to go over a couple things. You know, as we're expanding and we're getting busier and busier, we have to always make sure that we're staying in control of the loan process as best as possible. And there's some new people here, and they need to be shown the correct way to do things. And there's people that have been here for a while. There's all different types of mixes of people as far as the time that they've been here. And so we're going to talk about some key points here as far as how to manage your business from origination and processing, and best things that need to be adhered to when you're dealing with a loan. And so first off, like we had talked about on the Thanksgiving lunch, that now the red light checklist is in Velocify. Okay, and that must be filled out and completed at the time of contract. Okay, so when you turn a loan into processing, that red light check, I'm sorry, when you turn a loan into your LOA, that red light checklist must be filled out completely. And we're working on duplicating the fields in Velocify to where if you enter data into one field and it applies to the red light, that it will carry over. Okay. But I want to make sure that you guys understand how important this is, because what that's doing is that's telling us, for instance, like the contract, for example, has to have a reasonable close date and the proper amount for concessions, right? Just for example, I mean, that's one of the things that you're attesting to. And so and the reason why we're doing this is because we need to optimize and we need to become more efficient with our business, if we're going to get to the next level. Okay. And so like Josh had mentioned last week, the average turn time from contract to processing is 3 weeks. I mean, that's unacceptable. And so we have to change that, nip it in the bud. And it starts with everyone committing to making these changes. And so it's just very, very important that the time that contract comes in, you have 3 days to get it into processing. So that means that a lot of the heavy lifting has to be done up front. Okay. You have to understand that, first off, does everyone understand that? I mean, I know that we're talking about we want to become better. The other side to this is that when somebody goes under contract, they're putting their earnest money, they're putting money on the line, whether it's $1,000, $2,000, okay? And if they don't close by that time on the contract, then they lose that money, right? And so they don't blame the realtor, they don't blame the seller, they blame the company, the mortgage company, the loan officer, right? And if you have a lot of complaints, versus positive reviews, you're probably not going to have a long career in the mortgage business, because it's all based on reputation, and it's very easy to burn that reputation. It takes years to build one. It takes a minute to ruin it. And so complaints are not avoidable. They're going to happen in any industry. It doesn't matter what you do, retail, especially retail oriented, you're going to have complaints, but it's about getting in front of it and dealing with it in a very proactive manner, because you're dealing with all different types of consumers. I mean, just from everything under the sun. And so I'm not saying to ever be scared and don't think that complaints are not going to come up. They do, but some of these things can be avoided. And specifically, if you're telling someone they're going to close in 45 days, and it takes you 3 weeks to get the loan just in the processing, well, now you only have 24 days left to close. Are you going to meet that deadline? If not, you're going to get a complaint from the realtor, from the buyer. And so you need to make sure that that when we're doing loans, that we have realistic and attainable close dates, and that you have all the pertinent information to get that loan closed. And you can just see in the compare and contrast. There's people that are closing their loans on time, and they're not having those problems. And the people that are having those problems, they're obviously not closing their loan on time, and they're missing key things. And so one of the things that we're seeing right now is in that in that average time to turn a loan into processing, where it's taking 3 weeks, that either the customer is dragging their feet. There's a lot of lagging items, and so if you're in a situation like that where it's just been extremely exhaustive, and the guy can't get it together, those loans just need to be removed from the system. Because what ends up happening is if it's gone past the option period, and now it's just going on and on and on. What ends up happening is that the seller and the realtors and the buyer, they all come back to blame the lender, that the lender screwed up and didn't close on time. They dismiss everything about the fact that who dragged their feet, and everything that happened in between. The guy didn't have the money for down payment. He did a credit rescore or whatever. So they don't look at any of that. And so what happens is we live in a very transparent era right now, where anything can go viral in a second. And so they don't care about any of that stuff, man. And so they're just going to go online and put some bad review about this person did this and screwed me. And it's hard to overcome those things unless you have a lot of positive reviews to topple that. And so so the best thing that you can do, you can't please everyone. I totally get that, and I don't think you can. I don't think you should. But some things that are on us, like if we're going to give somebody a pre-approval letter, and it's contingent on getting their loan docs, you have to manage that customer, and you can't let them go under contract. If you know that you haven't, for one thing, everybody should know that no one can go under contract without pulling all 3 bureaus. You do the initial pull just to start the loan, but no one can go under contract without checking all 3 scores. That's a must. And the credit score, if you're doing a rescore, that rescore can be done, but the borrower already has to qualify if they're going to go under contract. We have a loan right now where the person didn't qualify for the loan, and we did a rescore on them. They went under contract, and now we're scrambling to figure out what to do. And we have their close dates at the end of the month. A rescore is not a guarantee. It's just a simulation, and it's based on a snapshot of what could happen. But there's so many other factors. What about if the repositories respond to the dispute, or if they have another collection that comes on credit? You don't know what's going to happen. So if the person doesn't qualify, they cannot go under contract. I don't care what they say. So because you're putting everybody at risk, and so you need to if someone's going to go under contract, then they already need to qualify if you're going to be doing a rescore. Okay. And so on these loans that are lagging, you need to copy the realtors on these communications, and not specifically let them know what's needed, because you can't let the realtor know that. But that if we don't get this stuff in, then we're going to miss the close date. Okay, I need these documents. So what I'm getting at is that if you're requesting something from them, like you need the tax returns or the cash to close, you have to put a deadline on that, a drop dead date. Okay, and if you don't have these things, then you need to let all parties know that we cannot meet the close date, because they're going to come back and blame you for not hitting that target. Does that make sense? So if you're asking for bank statements and a gift donor, and you today is the December 1st, if you need that by 12/4 to close by 1/5, you need to let them, this is the deadline to have it. And if you don't have this, then you cannot meet the close date. Okay, you have to let people know this, because they're gonna come back later on, and they're going to use it against you if you don't close on time. So anytime you're requesting stuff, it needs to have a deadline in it. It's very important. You let all parties know that we're not going to be able to close on time if we don't hit this. Does that make sense? You guys do that now or no? Yeah. Okay. It needs to and you need to get as much stuff in writing as possible. Verbal doesn't mean anything. You're trying to get as much stuff as you can on email that they respond to it. Okay. So if whatever you're communicating with them. So, but the thing is that it's a simple game here, guys. It's not hard. Just follow the rules. Quit beating your head against the wall. You know, if you're smart, you're going to catch on quickly and understand what we're talking about. So, let me see here.
Angela.
Yes, sir.
I was actually thinking about the red light checklist and going back through and saying, everything that I don't need the contract for, and then telling the real estate agent, you got the contract, great. I can't accept it until I get these, boom, and send it out. They'll get those, so he puts the realtor on them as well, pressure, hey, listen, we can't put this contract in without these documents. And then, so you have a big chunk of it, you got the contract in, now you get the FHA, yada, yada, yada. I think right now we're doing it opposite. We're just accepting the contract without that bulk of up front. And if we do that.
Well, some people are doing that. Not
Right.
everybody's doing that. And so the goal here is everybody must do it. And so, and the thing is that, we're going in and we're doing a clean sweep and denying all these loans that have been just sitting there festering and it's not moving because it doesn't make any sense to mess with them. And so, and that's another thing is that, yeah, you're not supposed to, you're in control. Remember, you're the doctor, they're the patient. Why are you letting the customer or the realtor control the transaction? You're the one with the money. Well, why are they in control? Well, if you lose control, you lose everything. You can't let these people, you're the one holding the pre-approval letter. Okay? You guys are getting, I understand you're getting excited, it's your first loan, second loan, whatever, and that's good, but the thing is that it's not being negative, it's the process. You're explaining the process to them of how it works. I was using the analogy, like if you have to go into a surgery, the doctor says you need to fast before you go into surgery and you have to be here at 6 o'clock. You have to follow this. Right. You can't argue with that. You have to do it. You can't go get drunk the night before and show up at 9 o'clock. He's going to say, get out of my face. And so, the doctor stays in control. And the same thing is with here. You have to keep control of the transaction. If you don't, they're going to run all over you, man. But the thing is that I'm going to go back. I'm trying to really keep you guys from having a long-term career in the business. But you're dealing with financial stuff, and the thing is that you have a license number, and I can't stop if you give someone a pre-approval letter without checking with me or Josh, and then it screws up and it blows up and they come back and sue you, because they can do that. I've seen it many times. I've seen loan officers lose their house. They had to sell their house to pay for a judgment to a customer. Yeah. You want to get the FBI can get involved. I mean, there's a million things that you have to pay back to state. There's a million. You guys don't understand what you're giving someone approval and they don't qualify. You guys are just thinking I'm just going to give you a pre-approval letter, and it doesn't work like that. I've seen people lose a lot of stuff, a lot of money, and their life gets shooken up because they're not paying attention. So you're dealing with financial services. It's not like selling tacos. So, and that's the the risk to reward for this business to make this type of money, that the potential that you could make, but it's very serious. And so, but if you follow the rules, then you're going to be okay. But you have to keep things in control with the customer, and it's real simple, and you don't need to be mean about it. You want to control your temperament. But this is the rules, and I don't make the rules. I don't. We have to carry them out, and so, and that's the one thing that I'm going to say, that on issuing pre-approval letters, unless you've been released to do that, you better not be issuing pre-approval letters without a manager checking on it. Okay? You guys don't understand the consequences of doing that. I've said this a million times to you, but people are still doing it. And there's reasons why we have these safeguards, because I've seen loan officers lose thousands of dollars and get kicked out of the industry for doing this. And I'm trying to prevent that from happening to you so you can be successful. Okay, get your ego out of the way and just pay attention and listen. So, because it is a very serious thing. And if I'm wrong, let it be on me. Let it be on me or Josh. But don't let it be on you until you've done 100 pre-approvals, and we feel confident that you've been released. And when you're released, we'll tell you when you're released to issue a pre-approval. And that's one thing, guys. If on pre-approvals, if this customer if they can't put two and two together, do not, we can't work with them, okay? If they can't connect the dots and understand what we're talking about, it's gonna be, because I always use this as my decision maker, and that's when I'm talking to this guy, and I need documents. If I'm having just a ridiculous time trying to get this to move forward, I'm asking myself, how am I ever gonna get this guy to closing? Right? How is this person ever gonna get to closing? And we're struggling so hard right now to even get the loan in, and so, and that's not the same thing as saying that if you're dealing with someone that has a 580 credit and they're on the ball and they're doing everything they can to get you stuff, that's who you want to work with, somebody that has the credit, or that someone that has the will and the dedication to to get the loan. That's fine. I'm not talking they have a bad credit score. I'm just saying that if the person is unresponsive or uncooperative, don't mess with it, man. It's not it's going to cause a nightmare. It's the foreshadow of what's to come with the customer. You know what I mean? And so it'll happen to you. And I'm trying to help you guys out and prevent these things from happening to you, so that way you can be successful in the business. And so these are things that are going to help you. And so, but I can't prevent anybody from, if you improperly pre-qualify someone, or you drag out their loan and they lose thousands of dollars, I can't stop them from coming after you or me. I can talk to them and try to work it out, but I mean, people, we live in a free country. People are going to do what they want to do, and you really need to take note of that, because it is very important. And then there's a way to actually deny someone the proper way, okay? And it's actually done through our compliance department, but we'll let them know up front that they don't qualify, or whatever the reason is. And then we have to request a loan denial, and then that's all. It's actually done through our compliance department. Then they'll issue it, and you're probably going to get some kickback on that. You're going to have to know how to deal with, well, I thought you told me I was approved, or I thought you told me this, I thought you told me that, and you're going to have to know how to respond to those things, And I'm going to let Josh talk about that a little bit, and he wants to probably shed some light on it. But right now, if you guys have loans that are festering, LOAs, loan officers, we need to get together, and we need to, if it's a situation, I'm not talking about if it's been there for a few days, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. If it's something that's ridiculous, and 3-4 weeks waiting on a document, the guy, he disappeared or whatever, and you can't get anyone to cooperate, we've got to deny it. It's got to get removed from the system, right? Does everyone agree with that? Mm-hmm. There's no point to mess with that type of loan. And because what happens is clogging the pipeline, and it's a waste of resources. So that's not the same thing if the guys, you're waiting 2 days, he says, I'm going to get you the doc, I'm going to get it, I just need to go over here and get something. That's fine, And so.
And you're speaking of people that are actually under contract, and they're just lagging.
Yeah. Just you'll know, like, when you're looking at. But I want you guys to be more selective on who you're decide. Remember, you decide who you want your client to be. And be more selective of it, and look for a person that you can visualize seeing them getting them to closing. That they're responsive. They don't have to have 750 credit, but as long as they are proactive, and they're focused on getting their loan closed, and they're cooperating with you, those are the main tenets. And so I've closed a lot of loans that started out as a 560 or 580 and got them over to a 640 or whatever. But they were very cooperative, and they were serious about doing the job, and so getting it done.
Angelo, going back to my previous comment, the red light checklist, theoretically, how much of that could be obtained before the contract? 100% of it? I mean, like, all of it? Well, except for the appraisal order, you can't order the appraisal.
Well, it's more about, they're like checklists is more about getting the documents, knowing your customer, like knowing
Right,
that.
but I'm talking about actually physical documents on that list, because if, you know, some of the stuff I know that we can't go forward and do, but theoretically, I mean, could we do majority of it, 90% of it?
You should have 90% of the borrower's docs by the time they go on contract. And the only reason why your files are taken an average of 3 weeks after contract to submission is because you don't. It's because you don't. Or you have a loan that you didn't structure correctly. And then you have to scramble to restructure. So, this is a huge focus for us right now because there's so many people here, so many loan officers that at the rate that it could happen with each one of you, how many files from each one of you, it could be like an atomic bomb going off. Because of the number of customers that you may have that have issues. And there's not enough of me and Angelo to go around to be Superman and save the day. And that's what it's gonna take to save the day until you guys are able to do that. But I don't wanna spend my entire day or week in my office fielding complaints, and neither does corporate. So at the rate that this type of issue could shut down this entire branch. That's how serious it is. Everyone here would be without a job.
Why don't we take that red light checklist, get the appraisal, you know, off that and call it a, you know, a contract, a submission, you have to have this stuff in. I mean, wouldn't that, get that stuff pre or that contract's not going in? I mean, that's the, because we're accepting contracts and that stuff's floating. That's
But
what's the
yeah,
problem.
you gotta get with your LOA a lot sooner if you're not, because you gotta give them a heads up on people that are actually submitting offers that they're accepted. You have to know where your borrowers are at. If you're getting a contract and you're like, well, where'd that come from? Then you're not on top of your business, okay? That shouldn't be a surprise to you when a contract comes in. You should probably know a few days in advance, or maybe even a week in advance, that that's coming in. You know what I'm saying? And start preparing the file, double checking it at that point, not after the contract comes in. The thing is that you're putting everyone in this company in a position that they don't want to be in. You're forcing them into it by not taking action early enough. Because it's too much risk, and it's not worth the reward, not at all. So, you know, anyway, you need to get on it early, get with your LOAs, make sure that they're scrubbing the file, you know, reviewing the documents when the borrower sends it in. Do not take it lightly. Using phrases to the borrower, because your job's on the line. There's no question about it, you know, that if these things are a trend with you, and you can't get it, you can't understand how to control it, after we continue to talk and try and develop you, spend time with you to get it done. It's, you know, that's your job is on the line. But anyway, we've got to really, this needs to just, I mean, like, I don't know, stress it enough. Just like your focus is that close date and making sure that borrower is compliant with you. If you're not tracking your close dates, then that's a problem. If your close date's today and you didn't know it, and you got a contract that you haven't even turned in, you got a problem. The processing, right? Huge problem. That's you got to know at least 2 weeks in advance. You got to be preparing these people that you're getting an extension. I got files in processing right now. I mean, they're in processing, but the thing is that they need an extension because of an issue that arose, and the people have nowhere to live. Why? Because they gave notice to their current residents and they have to get out. Could that have been prevented? How could we prevent someone from giving notice too early? How could you have done that? How? That's the question.
Well, one thing I'm
Tracking
doing,
your close date,
Setting
being proactive.
expectations.
well, what I'm doing now, because all that has to happen is one time, and you can feel like crap for it, that you don't want to have it happen again. So if you see, the moment you see something that potentially could slow this file down, then let everybody know.
Right.
First, you know, I'm talking about my customer first, my client first, to let them know that this close date is just an estimated close date. It's not etched in stone. I mean, I told my sister, don't go and start reporting, getting, you know, telling your guy, your what do you call it, the landlord or whatever,
Yeah.
that you're moving out on this particular date because it's not etched in stone.
Good.
You know, because if you do that, and it might be something that's out of our control,
Right.
that stops this loan. I'm working on stuff personally that I can control.
Right.
Because there's so much that we don't know. I don't care how much I'm talking to everybody. I don't care how much we think we know. there's a hell of a lot more that we don't know.
Right.
And I'm the first to tell you that I'm learning that I have to get more proactive and look for these things. But the second I detect that there's something going on, I want everybody to know. I'd rather them be mad now, 2 weeks before a closing, 3 weeks before a closing, a month before a closing,
Right.
than have it come where now we can't close and we're telling them about it 2 days before.
Right.
'Cause
Yeah.
I've dealt with that before.
And if it comes to need an extension, and even if it's a week before, everyone was like, hey, you know what? You said that might happen. Good thing we didn't give notice like you said, you told me not to in the beginning. But you have to be on top of your customer to do that. You know, so many new loan officers, right? You guys aren't taking the time to remind them of how these things work. You can't just put an offer in a house. They think that closing on that contract, they think that's the close date. They need to know that's the estimated close date. There's a difference. You have to clarify that to them. See that date in your contract? I know that's the date that everyone thinks closing is going to be. That's just estimated. That's the target. But that's based on certain things happening at certain times. And if those things don't happen at those certain times, that date, that estimated date, will then become a new estimated date. There'll be a new date. You understand? That date in the contract means nothing unless everything happens at on point. If those things don't happen on point, that date's gone. So don't give notice. And not only that, you get your first month without a payment on the new loan. And we recommend that you wait until you actually get a clear to close before you do anything with moving out or scheduling movers. Do not schedule movers until you've closed on this loan. Okay, you got a whole month with no
And
payment.
this needs to be in your pre-approved video that you guys have to make by Monday. We need to have this in there because it's a very important thing to have added in your video. And so that they need to understand that. You know, it's crucial. And you know, the thing is that what are we talking about here? We're talking about, you know, enhancing our skills. You know, so that way you guys can be more successful. You want to get better, and you know your gifts are going to make room for you, but you need to focus on your, you know, enhancing your skills first. You know, the thing is, we always want things to happen so fast, and you know what I suggest is that you focus on enhancing your skills, and the opportunities and everything else that you're wanting will trail that. You know, well, you have to get your know-how down first. I mean, that's, you know, it's huge. This is it's a gigantic industry with a lot going on, and you know, I've been doing this for 11 years and I still learn, you know, stuff every single day that's new, because you know the thing is that, and a lot of times I'll forget stuff because I don't use it all the time. You know, like for instance, I was looking at something with rental properties today that, you know, I don't see a lot of loans with rental properties, so I forgot something about a requirement on there, and so, you know. But you know, you always want to focus on getting better, and you know, that's one thing I've told you guys many times. Don't wish for, you know, less problems. Wish for more skills. You know, and so because it's just huge. When you have more skills, you have more know-how, then the problems are gonna, you know, they're gonna evade. They're gonna evaporate. So, but you know, so that's the main thing that we're talking about. We want everyone to get better, and you know, these are best practices that must be followed. So, you know, number one, the takeaways are, you know, red light checklist has to be completed, you know, by the time contract comes in. Go through your contracts, all you guys, and deny the people that need to be denied. Put anything that your pending items, you know, it needs to have a deadline. Copy the realtors, copy the borrowers, and must have a deadline if you're pending documents. You know, all 3 credit bureaus have to be pulled prior to going into contract. Do not issue a pre-approval letter unless you've been released without checking with management. And so do not let anyone go under contract without having all the pertinent documents. And the pertinent documents are in the red light checklist. And you can follow that to make sure. And remember, you have to stay in control of the transaction. Do not let the realtor or the customer boss you around. You cannot let that happen. If they go somewhere else, fine, but at least you stayed in control. You know, you have to stay in control of the transaction. And so, you know, you do your best to explain to them. But the thing is, and the whole reason why we're doing this is just for everyone to get better. and to be more successful. Because, you know, if we don't do these things, then, you know, then we're going to experience a lot of the challenges that some people are realizing right now. And so, you know, and I know that everyone will rise above it, and we're going to improve, and, you know, learn from it and move on. That's the main thing, you know. So we have to do this, and it's really important, and, you know, so those are the main things. Now, Josh, on requesting a denial letter, what's the process for that?
You can get with me until, you know, probably for the first 10, so you have an idea of how to explain that to the consumer in an acceptable way, right? So there's certain verbiage that we would want to convey. You don't want to give any particulars like, oh, your rescore didn't, you know, work out, or you didn't get from this score to this score. The liability involved with that. Well, why did I get to this point if it was never good? Why? That's on you, right? That's on your bank. Y'all screwed me up. So you have to be very careful in how you convey your message, and also the borrowers, you know, also on the same page with those expectations early on, if there is anything that's, you know, we're waiting on or pending. But anyway, we go over on the phone with the borrower, make sure they understand and that they get like this being denied. They do get a copy of the denial letter. It's mailed to them. We mail it, our corporate office mails it out, our compliance department mails it out to every borrower. We make a couple notations in Encompass on the reasons, and they have to be an acceptable reason. And I'll go over those with you when I meet with you. Probably we'll have to do a one-on-one a few times for you to kind of get the hang of it. And then we can request an email, a PDF to be emailed to us as a denial letter, so we can send it to the borrower, so they don't have to wait for the one to come in the mail. It takes about 24 to 40 hours after that request to get a copy of it. There's a couple I'm going to be requesting today. I think I got one for you, and I got some for Steven, and maybe Else too. Yeah. So it's easy. It's just that it's important. What matters is, I guess, the manner in which it's done. Okay.
I have a question. Aren't there system automated denial letters that's generated if we put someone in the system, and let's say they're sub 600?
Yeah.
And it sits there, it'll automatically send that denial
Sub
letter?
580.
If it's sub 580,
Sub 580,
yeah,
yeah.
that's automatic. If it's a if it's been in the system for like I think 180 days or 120 days, and
Washes out,
yeah,
slips
it's
between.
no, it just cancels out automatically.
There's certain programs where it's different too, like if you have a cash out refi for 10 days with no action,
Yeah.
then that automatically denies.
Yeah, because it's a refinances. You tend to know all 6 triggers,
Mhm.
right? Because it's a refi, so that's the reason for that.
So if we send out this denial letter and say something changes circumstance, are they knocked against coming back and?
No, they can
you know,
reapply.
Okay.
No, yeah.
They can reapply at a later date. That's always an option.
Right.
Or
Right.
if they want to try another lender, we can't email their documents to another lender, but we can send them back their personal documents, like not any of the or LOEs and stuff like that. We're just going to send them like their W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns to them directly, and then they can do what they want with them if they want to forward them on.
Is there a formal timeline after you deny that they can reapply?
Not with us. I mean, most companies are, I think, 30 days, but
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think there's a
A circumstance that's.
no,
like
because we
quick,
can
right?
deny them from one program and put them on another,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
or maybe their credit score improved, but just as long as they actually qualify.
Sure, like if they can add a co-borrower, like 2 weeks later or something, they find one and.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, something like that. But now, something else, just kind of give you perspective. I sat with Steven today on some of his files. He had some that had closing dates that were approaching here this week in mid-December, and this is borrowers that have been delaying getting their documents in. So the good thing about Steven is that he has a nice pipeline report that he maintains that has all the close dates, and actually has the days remaining before the close date hits.
all of you guys have a copy of that in the
You
LO
guys,
Survival
is
Guide.
everyone using that?
Not
Excel
everyone's using
spreadsheet?
it, but it is in the LO Survival Guide, and you need to be using it.
Yeah, that's if it tracks all your loans. So let's say And Tyron's got, he's got his report that has it on, Michelle obviously too, but it's good for you to have, you gotta be on top of your loans, and you can't be on top, if you have, you got 10 loans in processing, plus whatever you got with these guys, how many loans you have, as the numbers add up, it's harder to maintain or know where each file is at on a daily basis. You can't keep it all here, it's not gonna happen, okay? We're not at all fortunate to be the Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman. But you got to maintain that. But anyway, what the key thing I wanted to point out is that with Stevens Loans is that we're taking the opportunity now to project the estimated close dates on those loans to prevent complaints, because those complaints, they're going to come, but we can deal with them now in a proactive way to get more time, explain why more time is needed. The borrower is delaying getting their documents, waiting on funds to close, or whatever the issue is. And I was going over with him how to project the close date. And some of you guys may or may not understand how to do that. You guys, Angela sent out some timelines with the minimum, once it's assigned to a processor, the minimum amount of time,
That's on your LO survival guide too.
it takes for the processor to close down loan. If I have an FHA loan that's ready today, right, and then one of your LOAs gives it to me on review, and we send it to a processor today before 2 o'clock, okay? So before 2 o'clock is considered the same day, after 2 o'clock is considered like next day, right? So if you send me a file at 5 o'clock today, that's really, I'm not getting it today, I'm getting it tomorrow, okay? Anyway, if you send me a file today, what's today, 12/1? Okay. If I have an FHA loan, what is the projected close date? If everything's good in that file, perfect. Once the close are documented, we don't need anything unusual. Appraisals on target, the title's on target for due dates, coming in within a reasonable amount of time.
3 weeks.
12/21.
3 weeks. What's
12/23.
12/21? What do you say?
12/23.
I like that. I like closing on Fridays. Always, if you, instead of going to the middle of the week, I always push it out to the Friday. You buy 2 extra days, and it's easier. You can tell them 12/21, and you say, well, let's do it 12/23. Is it on a Friday? Everyone goes for that. Anyway, how long for a USDA loan in Texas? If it goes in today,
February 1st.
February 1st.
No. Like 15. It's like 45 to 60.
If
Business
let's say
days.
everything's pretty much in on that file.
Well, taking into account that we have to,
Holidays too.
well, that's what I've been dealing with. The taking into account that first we have to underwrite it here, process underwriting, and if the turnaround is 1 week, it's 7 business days.
For underwriting?
I'm saying if
Okay.
it's 7 business days, it doesn't complete the process. It still has to go to Massachusetts, Missouri, or wherever that loan is, and then we don't know unless we check up on it to see how backed up they are.
Right.
And they're backed up a lot because it's holidays and it's the end of the year. It's always end of the year push, I guess. So with that, if it's to answer the question, I'm saying 45 days.
So 45 business days, right?
Yeah, the business days is what where's Mike?
Right there.
Mike, I learned something from him sitting down in there that he says, okay, Joe, here is how it works. And he just gave, Mike, I can't say you, Mike, but you gave cushions, right, on the days. You said, okay, we have this file now. We still got to get a couple of documents, which we just got, which means I'm going to be reviewing those documents, and I'm going to, scrub the file again, make sure we can submit it into underwriting. It's going to take a few more. He will open up his calendar and show it. Okay, that means they'll get it on this day. They'll review it. We'll get it back, maybe with some conditions. If the lady comes back and clears the conditions in 2 days, that moves it over here. Now we got to send it over here. And by the time we finished up, we was easily at the end of the darn month.
Right.
For a loan that we were thinking was going to close on the 12th or the 16th. Because it is. But that educated the crap out of me.
Right.
So it made me go to all the projects. Say, hold up, wait a minute for a second, guys. That close date is unrealistic, and of course, Cardone would tell us to say, I'll take full responsibility of that, but I want to give it to you up front right now by sitting with my senior loan processor, perhaps we should reconsider that close date and look to get an extension.
Right.
At least we're 2.5, 3 weeks out, because it does take longer, and it just, we have to know that. I don't think most of us have an idea, a clue of how that process takes place. That's why I said I'm just gonna start telling people 45 business days on the USDA. When we go into contract, we can look to close it sooner, but that gives us at least 8 days where the underwriters aren't even gonna be in play, because on the weekends they're not working. But that gives us, at least we can still be working on the file and getting docs in or whatever we're doing with our clients during those 8 days. Because right now, it's not 45 days, it's really
56.
37 days.
So close date would be like February 15th then, 45, you know? So
Well, for one that goes into contract today.
right, if regular, yeah, and that's just like
Yeah.
everything's perfect on it, you know? There's no
Yeah.
really lagging 45 business days.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that should be a standard or best practice, but I'm
It
gonna try it
depends.
myself.
It depends, but this is the point is that it's good. It was a good story, timeline thing you talked about, Joe. But I think that, and I think the thing that everyone needs to take away from what he's describing is that we have a timeline, a total number of days. It's made up of little events happening, and you need to be able to identify each one of those little events. How much time does each event take, right? And so, how long is it going to take Tyron to get the file into processing after I get the contract in? How long is the processor going to take to do their initial review, right? And if the processor needs items from the borrower, how long is it going to take the borrower to get those items? Then once I have those items from back from the borrower, how long is it going to take the processor to review those missing items? Then those missing items are in, how long is it going to take the processor to get the file uploaded if they're not too busy or too many people bother them? You know, how much time are they going to need? Processor submits to underwriting, how much time is the underwriter going to need, right? You need to be able to identify this. Now, the underwriter comes back and asks for conditions. Okay, now we go back to the borrower. How long is it going to take for you to get these items in? And then back to the processor. Processor has to review, determine if it's acceptable. Then it goes back to underwriting again if it is. If it's not, we go into timeline B, go back to borrower again, unacceptable. Please send it back again. Borrower sends it back again. If acceptable, goes to underwriting. If unacceptable, go back to borrower, get again, right? So all this is eating into your time. So important is sending in documents, understanding what documents to send. Importance of understanding what documents to send is crucial. If your processor sends out an email, it's in your interest to give your borrower a call to make sure they understand what to supply, how to supply it. Because if they understand that, you probably could shave, if you take that call for 15 minutes, you might shave off 1 to 2 weeks off that loan timeline from them doing it wrong, right? So anyway, knowing how long each time, how much time that you need for each piece, and again, it's estimate. If Mike's out sick one day, the time for him to review the loan may go an extra day, right? If the underwriter is too busy, their turn times vary. That's what turn times are, they vary. It's an estimated time it takes for someone to complete a task, right? So you have to build in what we call sometimes a cushion. And it's a cushion in case of anything unexpected occurs. So usually you can add, a 2 to 5 days worth of cushion into your timeline for unexpected events, and then you come up with your total timeline. But the time it takes to set, for a Texas USDA loan, from the time it takes if it was assigned to him today, there's a possibility it could close by the end of the month or January 6th. It's probably about 4, maybe 5 weeks with the holidays in Texas. Now, if it's in Florida, something different's going to happen. See, that timeline 4 to 5 weeks is with the consideration that USDA is going to take a week, about 5 days, to review the file. Because on a USDA loan, it goes through 2 levels of underwriting, right? Our underwriting, and then once they're done with it, the underwriter sends it to USDA so they can underwrite it. Then we can close. That's a USDA loan, 2 levels of underwriting. Well, in Florida, their turn times are about 3 weeks. Texas is about a week. So that 45-day or 30-day close you were hoping for in Florida, where you weren't paying attention to your contract's not going to happen. The only way that's going to happen if it's sent to USDA the day you get the contract. And you can't send a file to USDA unless you have the appraisal. And so that's not going to happen. Right? So if I send in a file in Florida to Mike today, you're looking at the end of January. And that's assuming there's no restructuring or anything that fucked up that happens with the loan in the meantime. So if there's a restructuring that's involved, appraisal value comes in low, now you add to that timeline right there. Right? So all these little events that can happen or pop up, your timelines that we're projecting, in most cases, you may have projected maybe a 2 to 5 day cushion, maybe, right? Maybe. But if not, you didn't plan for any unexpected events. And when that unexpected event happens, we need to let the realtor know this is something that's unexpected, and yes, it's going to eat into the timeline. Could impact the close date, right?
I have a question. It's more of a statement. So it would be incumbent on us to, it would be wise, I would say, that we would be in the loop when it comes to setting the expectation on that close date. Because oftentimes we get the contract in, I have a realtor, they'll ask, how much time would you expect from contract? Because most of my lenders, they can do it in 20, 25 days. And I'm saying, no, we're not looking 25 days, we're looking more like 35 to 45 days.
It depends. Depends on you. It depends on you,
Mm-hmm.
and it depends on the borrower.
That's what we're saying, but if you have the red light checklist completed, then, that's what we've been saying all along, that if we give the customer the option to do the rapid close or the traditional close, all they're doing is pre-underwriting the loan. There's not anything magical. All these loans they all go to the same place. Whether we do them or Bank of America does them, they all go to the same spot in the end. And those investors have the same requirements. It's not that this other mortgage company has any less conditions or requirements. Some of them have some different overlays and stuff like that. But but how they do the loan is different. Some companies will do a full underwrite up front, and they advertise they close in 10 days. We can do that too, but you have to do a full underwrite up front. And some customers don't want to do that, and then they want to just get the stuff while they're processing the loan. Then that's a 60-day close, like we're talking about. So that's one of the things that we're going to be releasing here is giving the customer the option whether they want to do a rapid close or a traditional. With a rapid close, they got to get all their stuff in, and Dave is working on that checklist, and we can give that to the customer as an option. So it just depends, man, on the loan. If you got an 800 credit score and he's putting 5% down and he's got reserves and it's in an urban area and he gets you all his documents, that's a slam dunk.
If it's me and I'm on the receiving end of that call, Joe, and the borrower, they said, look, my lenders can close in 20 or 25 days. I said, look, we can too, but this borrower hasn't sent in all their documents yet. We're still waiting on it. He still needs to get funds to close. He has to do some little thing on his credit too. If all that was done, yeah, we could do it in 20, 25 days, but he's got some stuff he's got to do. Now, I'm going to give him a call right now, though, and let him know that you want to close in 25 days and see if he can get me all his paperwork in today. If he can't, probably just put it on there 5 weeks or whatever. And hey, Joe, if he calls you on another customer and he says, look, Joe, all my lenders close in 25 days or whatever. And well, let me check this file real quick. Let me see where this borrower is at. Hold on a second. You go through, skim through it. Okay, I got Tyler. Where are we at on this file? We got all the docs in on this guy. We knew he was submitted an offer a week ago, so he's been sending his stuff. He's like, oh, Joe, Tyler, yeah, he's on top of it. He's sending everything we asked for. He's even got money in the bank. Cut back on the phone with the real. Let me tell you something right now. This guy's got everything in. Yeah, we can close in 20, 25 days. So it depends, and you have to. That variable is something you have to identify, and that's based on your customer. And each customer is different.
And based on your file, what's in your file, and how he's responding
Right.
to getting stuff. Yeah.
Like Steven has a file that we're projecting a timeline on, and today, and one of the things he told me about the customer is that the father was not very computer savvy and was very slow. So I said, okay, this is a FHA loan. How much time after we sign it to processing here at this date if they have everything in? And he said, okay, 3 weeks. And I was like, oh. What did you just say about the dad? He was slow, extremely slow about sending his documents. 3 weeks in processing is for, what do you think is going to happen when the processor asks the guy for stuff? Right? What do you think is going to happen? You think the guy's going to go like this? No, it's not. So that 3 weeks is for borrowers that move. So if your borrower is not moving, he's not getting to close in 3 weeks. That's not going to happen because he's going to slow it down. And we have to know or expect that we're going to have to carry that weight. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No.
Yeah. So guys, I mean, here's the thing. We've talked about it, and now we're going to enforce it, and everyone's accountable for it, though. We can't close our eyes to it. This is our business. It's our career, And, you know, we have to, you know, take action on these things immediately if we're gonna get better. So we really need to see everyone cooperating with this and making sure that these things are, you know, enforced. Is everyone with me? You got it?
Indeed.
Okay, we good?
I think so. Just
Okay.
watch the close dates go through over the next couple days, today through the rest of the week. If you're uncertain, let's get certain this week and get the expectations reset. Okay, because if I have to deal with another call, I'm not gonna be happy. So, you know, we're gonna hold you accountable, because we're being held accountable, so we're gonna hold you accountable. As of now, we've just talked about it, and that's not enough. We need you guys to take this serious, okay? And so that means that you have one-on-one, you know, we'll do a coaching council with you if it reoccurs, okay? Because we have got to, this has to be a central focus. So if you leave this meeting today, this is not a central focus for you, you know, go watch this video, go do it again, whatever. This needs to be a central focus. Okay, because we can't continue to do business like this.
Okay. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna post this on YouTube. You can go watch it again if you need to. I encourage everyone to do that.